Hello everyone, I am Ms.R.Suba, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science SF. Today we are going to discuss about the topic Masked Text Box Control in VB.NET. Let us get into the chapter. The table of contents, the topics we are going to discuss here is the introduction, the properties of masked text box, events of the masked text box, and the practical application, how we are going to use masked text box, we are going to see in this introduction. Masked text box control is a mechanism to validate user input on a form. It is a graphical control element. The mask is used to distinguish between proper and improper user input. The masked text box uses the masked text provider mask syntax. Now we are going to see about the properties of the masked text box control. The first property we are going to discuss here is masked text box dot allow prompt as input. The masked text box dot allow prompt as input determines whether prompt char can be entered as valid data by the user. That is, whether the given character can be given by the user is valid or invalid. It will be checked by the masked text box dot allow prompt as input property. The next property we are going to discuss here is ASCII only. ASCII only dot masked text box property determines if a masked text box control accept characters outside of the ASCII character set. There are particular ASCII character set. The ASCII only property checks whether the user given valid data is outside the ASCII character set or inside the ASCII character set. The next property we are going to discuss is beep on error. Beep on error dot masked text box raises the system beep for each keystroke that rejects. For every keystroke which are getting rejected, there will be one beep sound. For that we are using the property beep on error. The fourth property we are going to discuss here is mask completed. Masked text box dot mask completed property determines if all the required inputs have been entered. That is, every required inputs have been entered by the user or not. That will be checked using masked completed property. The fifth property we are going to discuss is mask full. Masked text box dot mask full determines whether all required and optional inputs are being entered. That is, all the required and optional input are entered by the user or not. It will be checked using the mask full property. The sixth property we are going to discuss here is cut copy mask format. Masked text box dot cut copy mask format determines if literals and prompt characters are copied to the clipboard. That is, it determines whether the literals and the characters which are given by the user are copied to the clipboard or not. That is checked by the cut copy mask format property. The seventh property we are going to discuss here is hide prompt on leave. Masked text box dot hide prompt on leave indicates whether the prompt character in the input mask are hidden when the masked text boxes loses focus. That is, at some point the masked text box loses its focus. So hide prompt on leave property helps it to overcome it. The eighth property we are going to discuss here is insert key mode. Masked text box dot insert key mode controls the character insertion behavior on masked text box control. That is, what kind of character can be inserted as or given as an input to the masked text box control or dealt with the insert key mode property. The ninth property, that is the last property we are going to discuss here, is the mask. Masked text box dot mask sets the input mask to use at runtime. When the masked text box is going to run the masked text box, we can set the input mask in the property name called mask. So we have discussed about the 9 properties we have in the masked text box control. So now we are going to discuss about the events of the masked text box. With the help of properties, we are going to perform events, or we can simply call it as functions. The first functions we are going to discuss here is masked changed. Masked changed, that event occurs after the input mask has been changed. When the input mask is changed, the masked change event occurs. That is, we are going to change the mask and we are going to replace some other value as the input mask. The second event is mask input rejected. The mask input rejected event takes place when the input does not match the corresponding format element of the input mask. That is, at some places or in some process, the input mask will not match the mask given by the user. In such places, the input mask is rejected. So this event takes place there. The third event we are going to discuss here is type validation completed. The type validation completed event takes place when parse the current value with the help of validating type property. There is one validating type property for the mask current value we are going to give, that will be parsed. If some error occurs, that will be parsed with the help of the event type validation completed. It will validate the input value and that the mask value will be added. The fourth property we are going to discuss here is masked text provided. The masked text provided property supplies a mask parsing service that can be used by controls that support masking. Many of the text providing boxes will not support masking, but our masked text box control fully supports masking, and the input value given by the user mask must satisfy the input mask value. Then only we can proceed the event. Therefore, the mask parsing service, that is very important, that is provided by the event name called masked text provider. These are the events we have discussed here. Next we are going to see about the practical application, how we are going to use the masked text box in our VB.NET. First we have to create a simple project and create a new Visual Basic window forms application. We have to open a new form application. One of the form has loaded and I have shown that in the image. Add a few masked text boxes, and I am going to add 5 masked text boxes here, not simply text boxes. We are going to add 5 masked text boxes to the form that we have created now. I have 5 masked text boxes. You can see that in the figure. I have 5 masked text boxes. You may notice that the masked text box shown in the previous figure looks different from yours. This is because I have set up marks on each. For each of the masked text boxes I have created, I have set the different mask property in the properties window. So this is the properties window. In the mask property, you have to set different values so that you will get different masked text boxes. Next you have to give the input type for the masked text boxes you have given in the form. Click the ellipsis button. In the input types dialog box will appear displaying a list of predefined formats. This is the dialog box and you have the predefined input formats and an option to add your own custom format. These are the predefined formats. For our needs we may also add our own custom format, that is we can create a input type format and we can provide that format to our masked text box. This is shown, the input types are shown in this figure. The next we are going to see about a sample code, how we can insert a masked text box and what we should give in the masked text box. This code simply informs the user that she has typed in a wrong data, as in the case where I have entered letters instead of numbers. Here I have used this code actually gives an error message because instead of letters I have used numbers here. So the mask input should match with the already masked text boxes control, then only we can use the masked text box control. Otherwise the event mask input rejected will occur and our mask value will be rejected. Actually this is the error information for the code I have given. I have used 5 masked text boxes, but instead of letters I have used numbers, so there occurs an error. I conclude that the masked text box is a very handy tool to have at your disposal, especially when dealing with the user input. That is, when I am going to create a form and use the user input, that is when I want to have a proper date settings or calendar settings, time settings, in that places I can use masked text box input. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the next class.